UK inflation fell to 2%. I have Ross Walker from RBS in London on the line. So Ross, this is the first time inflation has been at or below the government set target of 2% since November 2009. Now, where did we see the biggest fall in prices and what were the biggest factors that helped bring it down?
Well, there were three main factors in the latest data for December. We had another fall in food price inflation. That was the single biggest factor among the main components of the CPI basket. But we also saw recreation and culture inflation fall, and also a little bit of easing on transport price inflation. So some mixed factors. I didn't think there was anything particularly interesting in the breakdown of the data. The bigger story is the extent to which inflation has fallen back over the last 6 months or so. It's now back at target. When the Bank of England launched their forward guidance policy framework back in August last year, they thought inflation would be around 2.8% at the end of 2013. So we're a long way below where the bank had expected inflation to be back then. And I think that's the big story, not the minutiae of today's figures.
And in terms of a market reaction, how has the data affected the euro-pound, cable and bonds?
Well, the market reaction, I think, was surprisingly muted, given that we had another surprise fall in inflation. It came back to target symbolically. The initial move in interest rate markets was as you would have expected. You saw the markets begin to price in slightly lower interest rates, as you would expect, but that's since unwound. And over the course of the afternoon, the currency markets have gyrated a bit. Euro sterling is a little bit lower, so a slight strengthening in sterling against the euro, but against the US dollar, sterling is slightly higher. But it's not a dramatic move, and actually most of the move has come later in the trading session, not really at the time of the data release.
And Ross, what else will you be closely watching for the UK economy this week?
Well, we have in the UK a relatively light data calendar this week, just retail sales figures at the end of the week. The Bank of England governor and some of his colleagues are before a parliamentary committee tomorrow, so it's possible there'll be the odd little bit of news or the odd headline hitting the screens, but actually it's relatively quiet until next week, and we get the key labour market figures, which if we see another fall in the unemployment rate and we're closing in on that 7% policy threshold, then there's going to be more pressure on the Bank of England to give us an update on the guidance, possibly as soon as the February policy meeting.
Ross, thank you very much. Well, viewers, do stay tuned as we have plenty more coming your way.